Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cookbook. I'm Iris Goldfeder, your host, and today, and I know I say this about all of my guests, but again, I am truly excited about everybody that I bring on the show. Today, I'm bringing on ReeJade Richmond, and ReeJade is a friend of mine, and we met recently, and her story is pretty damn incredible. So I'm going to read her bio. And then I'm going to introduce you to ReeJade. So, ReeJade Richmond is all about reinventing life and a business on your own terms, where you can scale with more clients, more revenue, and more free time. She's specifically known for her simple yet unique approach to repackaging expert content. More specifically, she teaches online coaches and consultants how to repackage. We have to get that clear. Their expertise into a membership that sells. Clients often describe her as loving, insightful, and committed to ensuring that they get results. And I can definitely attest to the fact that she's loving. When she's not teaching, she is taking orders from the mini boss, her daughter Zoe, mentoring at-risk youth and traveling. So without further ado, let's meet ReeJade. Hey. Okay, so I just, did your introduction, and we were talking about memberships that sell and what a loving person you are, which I know for a fact, just from dealing with you and knowing you and all that. The first thing I want to talk about was your journey of how, so what the audience doesn't know is that, you had your kidney transplant, and that was pretty much the catalyst for you to start your memberships at Sell and everything.
Correct.
I've been seeing on LinkedIn, that you've been really, getting that out there. And how's that been going?
It's going good. I think we're in this space, especially with the pandemic and with people not having jobs, losing jobs, and people just want to be safe health-wise. Everyone is just trying to figure out how to create their own lane and to be connected with people, right? And so you have this phenomenon of everybody wants to build a community now, whether it is just to show something as simple as how to garden or how to juice. Like, it's literally memberships and communities around those things. And really what a membership is really a community around learning a specific topic. So it's not a club or anything like that. It's really just about community and connectivity while you're learning and, just doing the stuff that you love.
Okay. I love that. I have never heard somebody put membership in that way.
Yeah, and that's the difference. Like, a lot of people talk about it in terms of recurring income and passive income. And yeah, that's one of the perks of having a membership. But really, the whole core of a membership is the community aspect of it.
And it's all about the relationship, right? It's all about building the relationships and knowing who you're doing business with and making sure that they're the right person, for you to be doing business with, but also that you're the right person for them. Because Correct. Not everybody, as much as we want everybody to be a great match, we want to be able to work with everybody. That's not the case, right? And
Correct.
And I found that out. I actually a client this week. I found some stuff about them that kind of made me rethink it. When I was having all of the emergencies with Skylar, my dog, the audience doesn't know, but she had like third eyelid surgery like 3 times. I was at the vet like 8 times back and forth, Wednesday and Thursday. And I was in a meeting and I was like, I got to go. It's my dog. And he literally was like, it's only a dog. This is more important. You're not my client. And so I, kind of made a decision that this isn't somebody who's going to be a good fit to work with. And I prefer to find these things out in the beginning,
Right.
like a year into it, right? When you're like, oh, damn. So what is your, everyone has a vetting process, right? So what's your
Right.
vetting process?
Yeah, so I'm very different with that, So of course online when people are selling stuff, they put a link up and you go buy. But for me is that relationship building. So I need to know who you are before you come into the program. Like I need to know what are your goals, because I am very relational, and that's the aspect of marketing of how I do business. But I also want to know if you're going to be a good fit, and can I truly help you get results? I think sometimes as business owners, we sell things and then we have people come into the fold and we're like, oh, they're not a good fit, or oh, I can't really help them, or there's a better resource for them. And so I think my vetting process is, we typically do a workshop, which is our flagship workshop. It's called Memberships That Sell. And really what that is like going through my framework and, them creating their membership idea, like the skeleton of it live on the workshop. And then the next step is if they want to need more assistance with building that out, then they will hop on a call. And we just see if they're a good fit for us. We're a good, because they get real life coaching on those calls from me. And we just see if my style works for them. If not, then of course they wouldn't be a good fit for the program, because the program is very hands-on. It's myself, it's not somebody else I delegate to. And so that's pretty much our vetting process on how we do it.
Cool. And you're on them. Like once somebody becomes a member, you're like, mama, you're like, you didn't do this. Where is this?
Right.
Like, hold them accountable, which is really good. I mean, I think that's super important. And I think the community piece, again, is so important, especially like you said, in times of COVID, things are still virtual. And the cool thing about it being virtual is that, we don't have to have this meeting, in your office, or this, this interview in your office, right? You could be in like, Bali right now, and we could be doing this interview. So
right.
I know what we wish we were in Bali, but, so it's, it widens the community because of the internet and all of that, and I feel the same way. I mean, I think everything really does need to be relational, and I know that like my vetting process is literally, I have a conversation with them, I ask where they are. One of the things that we try to do is meet people where they are. But after a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation, if you can meet them where they are, right? And you're right, you have to have results. If you don't have results, then it's not, it doesn't make sense to do. So
right.
That you can't help somebody, you're not going to take them on. I mean,
that's the thing. Some people do that, they're like, I'll, fake it till I make it and figure it out. And I think for me, if I can't help you get results, then I'm doing myself a disservice, right? And you too. And so it's like, you just made a kind donation.
Yeah.
And, like, so for me,
money, but I can't help you. And we don't want to do that. I mean, we don't.
And I think that's the difference with other membership programs that are out there. They're not vetting. They're like, here's the, program information, if you want to build a membership here, pay and come into the community and we'll support you. But the thing is, every membership is so unique. And I think people really forget about the community aspect piece of the membership. A lot of membership programs focus really heavily on the recurring income. And again, people may get in initially and then they're like, okay, I'm not getting results. I'm not getting the support I need. And that's typically what I hear from other programs. I know if I've been in a couple other membership programs, and that is typically what I saw as well. And that was my experience.
Right. Yeah. And then, I remember I was looking for, it was like in 2017 or 18. I was looking into a different kind of business model. So I was looking for, some membership things online, and literally it was like, make an appointment, somebody will contact you, or you get an email, and then the person that contacts you is asking you these like questions. And I'm like, that's not how no, this isn't what I want. And then I just decided I'm not going to go that route, because if I can't be hands-on with my client, I don't want to be hands-on with my client.
Right.
So I know the answer to this, but the audience doesn't. What made you become an entrepreneur?
I didn't want to. I don't think anyone, like, I think it's very rare that you hear someone says, like, I woke up and I just knew at an early age that I wanted to start my own business. That is a very rare thing.
Yeah, but
Um,
some people do. You got these like, I think it's like there's somebody in my subdivision here who her kid is like 14 years old, started like this lemonade stand at 10, and now she's,
yeah.
I don't even know what the hell she's doing, but she's, I guarantee you by like 18.
But that's the wave now in this generation, starting your own business. But back
Mhm.
then, that wasn't the norm, right? It's like you go to school and get a
Right.
job. And so that was pretty much my trajectory. And so that's what I focus on. But really, for me, I was really forced into entrepreneurship due to my health. I found out late that I was pregnant with my daughter. Found out when she was about 4 months, and that I have lupus, so that caused my lupus to flare, and it resulted in me having an emergency C-section. And then later on, I ended up in kidney failure due to the pregnancy. And then my daughter, she was in the NICU after birth for about 6 to 7 months, and so she needed extensive hands-on care. My husband worked at the time, nonstop. He was like really coming up the ground in Walmart, so he was like, I think at that time he was probably like a backroom unloader. And so it's just like he really climbed his way in Walmart. And so then like we were pretty poor. And so I needed to stay home. And then really it was more so at the time we were, because middle class people say is rich, and middle class is not rich when you have all these bills. Taxes kill us. And and so really that's pretty much where we were, and we couldn't get any type of assistance like food stamps, WIC, or any of that, just because we were in a certain tax bracket. And so it really forced me to think about things I was passionate about, figuring out what I can do for money. And it kind of went from helping women, create their lane in corporate. And more so, I created a nonprofit that was event-based called Leadership for Women. And that really was focusing on women, event-based, focused on women to really command, the pricing point that they want, really go up the corporate ladder in those different roles. And so I did that. And then after a while, I started getting questions about business development because my background was in international business law. I knew about business. I just wasn't trying to venture and start my own business. And so, but people knew that. And so they will always reach out like, well, what's the LLC, or how do you structure this? And so that's pretty much, I sold the nonprofit, and I transitioned to a company called Search for Existence, which was really about helping women find their own purpose. And it was really based on my own personal story in a way, because I'm trying to figure this thing out, because here I am. I went to school. I have these student loans, and I'm supposed to be this lawyer, but I'm home with my daughter, and, I have all these health complications. And so that is pretty much the trajectory there. And then after a while, I just started seeing the shift. And then in the last pivot was really more so with my transplant. It was just like, okay, I'm working with people. They don't want to go anywhere else. So how do I still support them and still provide value? And they don't get anyone else, but they still get me. And the only way that I can think about it was a membership. Now, a year prior to my transplant, I was looking into a membership program to teach me how to do my own membership. But the way I was taught, it was really focused on recurring revenue. And that type of model did not feel good to me, because it would heavily focus on, it was a numbers game, right? If you get X amount of people in, then you're guaranteed X amount per month. And for me, that type of teaching and model doesn't work for me, because I'm like, okay, well, what about the results? And so, I didn't want to create a fancy program, and all it was doing was getting people in the door, because statistically, personally, I'm a numbers person. So statistically, people don't complete membership courses or anything like that. When there's no really true hands-on component. And I'm not just saying group coaching, because that's just you coming, you're getting questions answered. That's like, people want your eyeballs on their stuff, right? Like, okay, am I doing this right? What do I need to tweak? And when you are focused on numbers and the membership gets so big, how can you, especially if people are buying into your membership for you, there's no way you can support them and guarantee that they get results. But statistically, about 70% of people stop programs that they purchase. They don't complete it. They buy it. They never revisit it, like whether it's a course or a membership. They never complete it. And I had to ask myself, why don't people complete it? And so I looked at all the memberships out there, and really they're all focused on recurring revenue. And so when that is the goal, and the goal is not focused on a community to support when you get stuck. And if there is a community, it's so big that you get overwhelmed and inundated with information that it just paralyzes you, because you're just like, this is too much information. I just have this question. Can can you answer this question for me, please? But when you're in a support group, like a Facebook group that has 10,000 people in it, it's like you're sinking. And
Right.
so that is one of the things that I saw. So for me, I wanted to create something that was specifically focusing on, not recurrent revenue, but really focusing on the results and the community piece.
Right. And I think that's super important. And it's funny because one of my newer clients said, we chose you because the first word out of your mouth is, and this is how much it's going to cost. You know what I mean? Because people start projects with people and, you have to listen to, and the same thing with memberships, you have to listen to the full scope. You have to listen to what their needs are, right? To know if it's going to be a good fit. And this particular client was working with somebody else and they would be like, well, we need this, this, and this. And the first thing they would say is, well, it's going to cost you this much, without even knowing, everything.
All the details. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to have the details. So, they were like, well, we need this, this, and this. And then I started asking questions to kind of dive a little deeper and be like, okay, well, what do you want to do with this? And, how do you want to do this? And they were like, well, how much is it going to cost? I'm like, we're not even there yet. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, this isn't about the dollars. I mean, yeah, I want to make money. Everyone wants to make money, but I got to figure out what the hell you need first here, And they were like, oh my God, like we don't want to work with anybody else like ever. So it's all about, the value that you provide and that they know that you care. I think that that's the biggest thing, is working with somebody that we know cares. Anybody that I work with, if I don't think that they care truly about me and all they see is dollar signs, I'm cutting the cord.
Right.
And that's not what you have. You have this community where people know that you care, that if they have a problem, you're going to be there. Right.
Right.
And I think that's huge. Do you miss anything about your life before being thrown into entrepreneurship?
I guess I miss structure because I'm very type A. And I think with entrepreneurship is one of those things where every day is an adventure, right? Like you can have your schedule planned out, you can have your theme days, and chaos can happen, right? But I think when you are working like a job, we micromanage, and it's just like, so for example, if you had a corporate job and something was going on with Skylar, your dog, it would, you would you would like minimize that, you know what I'm saying? Because you're like, okay, I have to work, like this is my lifeline. But I think when you're an entrepreneur, it gives you freedom, but it's one of those loopy things. It's not linear and it's not guaranteed. So every day looks a little bit differently. So it's like you're not really going with the flow, but you are. It's like you have a plan, but 9 times out of 10, the plan that you have for the day never goes the way you planned it. Like, even today we were scheduled to, get on at a certain time and, things just happened. I had no clue my husband was going to be in the way of me getting dressed, because typically he's gone by a certain time in the morning.
Right.
So,
right.
I had this plan, I was ready to go, but hey, it happens. And so I think that is the thing about entrepreneurship, and the difference between working. I like the structure. And there's this huge debate about a 9 to 5 in being a business owner. And I'm a person that's like, I have friends that have both and they love it. They love what they do. They're 9 to 5 and they have their business on the side and it's like a full-time business, and they love it. And I just think if you could find that balance, great. And there's no right or wrong answer. I don't feel that everybody is meant to be builders, which are entrepreneurs. Some people are those who are supposed to be support to companies, right? And I think you have to know who you are and what you bring to the table. And I tell people all the time, sometimes you may be just the ideals person that you sell the ideal to somebody that can build it, right? It doesn't, just because you get this amazing idea doesn't mean you're the one to go execute it. And so I think it's more about self-awareness in that sense. But what I miss about corporate, having a job is just that stability. I know my hours. I know what I'm doing each day. I know how much I'm getting. When I
your paycheck every weekend. Yeah.
Pulling teeth. Like, okay, did they pay the invoice? Okay, what's going on? It's just like one of those things.
Yeah, and I solved the thing by we have them set up an account and we pull the money out monthly, and I do that only because in my former life, I was running around chasing people for money and waiting for checks and waiting for this. And it's like, you can't run a business like that. And I let them know up front, this is what I'm going to be doing because of this. And the clients that got it stayed. And the ones that didn't, that I had to chase, didn't. And then that was fine because they were replaced with people who, got the program. And, I just feel very strongly that you're right. Entrepreneurship, you never know. It's like, in the beginning, there's this roller coaster, right? And then we always want to get to the point that it's not a roller coaster anymore, that it's a steady climb and, our pipeline is full and, all of that. And, I think that people that, are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs are like, excuse me, they're like, woohoo, I'm going to have my own business and woohoo, I'm going to be my own boss and I can do whatever I want. And it's like, no, because your clients are basically, your boss. I mean, yes, you make your own schedule. Yes, you do this. But if an issue arises with a client and you're on a boat or you're on the golf or whatever it is that you do, right? Excuse me. And it's an emergency. You have to stop what you're doing because that's, that has to be taken care of.
Right.
And my wife laughs at me because we'll be like on vacation and my phone rings. I answer it because it's either a problem or a prospective client. And I don't want to, ignore a problem and I don't want to lose a prospective client. So, and can I have assistance and can I do all that? Yes, but I don't want to do that. I want to be involved. I want to be hands-on. And I know that it takes up time, but I don't hate that. I kind of like that part of it because I like being, involved. So a couple of advice questions. So what advice would you give an up and coming entrepreneur or somebody who's thinking about, man, I hate my freaking job? Because we all know about the Great Resignation and, people want to get out of toxic situations and, or they just don't want to work for anybody else or, whatever the reason. And then the second part of that is for existing entrepreneurs, what struggles are you having or have you had and how have you overcome them?
Okay. So what was the first one again?
I'm not telling you.
You asked two questions. They were long.
The first one was, what advice do you have for an up and coming, either an up and coming entrepreneur who's like in the throes of it right now, or somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur because they're in a toxic work environment and they want to get out, or they don't want to work for anybody anymore, or for whatever reason, and they're like, I just want to quit my job.
So that's good. I think when it comes to thinking about it, again, I was thrown into it. So my advice is very subjective. I think for me, I would have really liked to have an exit strategy. And so if you're thinking about it, you can't control life. Jobs are going away quickly. People are being replaced by artificial intelligence. So if it happens, it's one of those things where you just have to figure it out. But for me, I was thrown into entrepreneurship. So I had no plan. So I only had one plan. It was only a plan A. And so I think, I always tell people, if you have a job or you have some type of steady income, whether it's you driving Uber or whatever if you have a steady stream, I say save, build up, minimize as much as you can, and really learn your expenses first. Because I think oftentimes people jump into this and they don't even know their cost of living cost before they jump into business. And you need to know that, because when you know that, then at minimum, I need to make this to survive in my business, right? And I think people don't think about that, because they're like, they jump into entrepreneurship, they quit their job, and it's like, oh crap, rent is due, or oh, my mortgage due, or oh, car notes due, or oh, I have no food. And I'm like, yeah, you got to think about it. So I think there needs to be some type of strategy plan. Now, I know some people say 3 to 4 months, you save. Sometimes that's just not realistic, right? Especially with the economy. But I do think having a plan and testing, if you have a job, testing your idea out, seeing if it works, networking, build your client base up on the side, whatever you're doing, whether it's products or service based, like build whatever you're doing up to see if it works. Because what I see often is people jump straight in and their idea doesn't work because they don't understand who they serve, the problem they solve, etc. And when you're wasting time now trying to survive, right? And so you run into the situation where you're just throwing anything out there, right? Because you're in survival mode. So if you have a 9 to 5, really test your idea out before jumping into it and save as much as you can.
Cool. And so if there is an entrepreneur out there right now who is a successful entrepreneur, what struggles have you gone through and how did you overcome them?
So tons of struggles. So I think from, having clients and, not doing work to just being difficult to feeling entitled is some of the things you fall to trap to, especially when you're a small business owner. They think, you're supposed to be available at every waking moment. I think one of my biggest issues has been boundaries because I do care about people a lot, and that's just naturally my personality. And I tell people all the time, who you are personally is going to show up in business. So if you're really a jerk in business, you're just going to be a bigger jerk with money. I mean, if you're a jerk personally, you're just going to be a bigger jerk with money in business. I mean, that's just the reality. And so I tell people who you are often shows up in business. So I tell people to work on those quirks. If you need to get therapy, go get therapy. Because I mean, if you struggle with like insecurities, guess what? That's going to show up in your business as imposter syndrome. And so I just think, just really understanding your weaknesses. And working through those things. I think sometimes when we become successful entrepreneurs, we feel like that's it. And we're not growing. We're not open to learning or improving our systems, processes, or even tweaking our framework. And I think that's what has always made me stand apart from other businesses, is because I have been always willing to evolve in business. I have never, of course, there's times when I resist it because it's your baby, right? You don't want to change what you built. Nobody does. You're like, I built this. Who are you to tell me that I need to tweak it, right? But really, businesses have to change or they go away. We see so many like big companies going away right now because they couldn't adapt to the pandemic.
Right. And, it's funny. And the smaller business, so there's a small restaurant in town here. So right before the pandemic, they were talking about becoming a market and all of that. And then the pandemic hit, and how restaurants just died. They just, died. And but these people made a pivot, and they were like, okay, we have great food, so we can do pickup, we can do delivery, we can do, curbside, whatever, but let's do the market. And they made this pivot of doing a market, and because it's a high-end restaurant, so all of their stuff is high quality. So, you could get all of your essentials, your vegetables, your meat, your, whatever, right? And then they were selling pandemic essentials like toilet paper, because that was like the whole thing. And that's a whole nother story, because for me, it's like, and my wife laughs at me because I did kind of stock up on it a little, but then I started going, go get a bidet, right? Or whatever, if you run out. So, but hand sanitizer, like they really looked at what the needs were of the community, and they succeeded. And now they opened up a market right next to the restaurant. So, you talk about like a successful pivot. And I see a lot of companies that, when it came time to, oh my God, we have to go virtual now, they didn't know what to do. They were like, how am I going to do this? I'm a local business. And then other, people started figuring it out. And I think that more people than not figured it out. The ones that didn't figure it out, unfortunately, didn't make it.
Right.
But there were a lot that did. And it was amazing how you saw that. Right? Like executive coaches who normally met in person, who maybe used Zoom once in a while. The whole thing with Zoom was a trip, because Zoom was like this, almost like a, I don't know, like what was it, Skype? Right? And then everybody started taking to Zoom. and they
Yeah.
had no idea what hit them. I was like, shit, I wish I would have taken stock out in them before.
But they adjusted like Zoom, StreamYard, like a
Yeah.
lot of them pivoted and adjusted. It was the other one, Premiere, Ecamm, all of them, OneStream, all of them. They pivoted, and Microsoft Teams, they upgraded their stuff. Google updated their stuff. So it was like all these companies pivoted. They had to, because more people were online and their servers couldn't handle it, right?
Right.
And then the needs of the people were so extensive, like presentations and whiteboards and all these different things that needed to come to play. So that's what I mean by pivot. In business, you have to be willing to pivot, or your business will only go so far. And
Right.
I think those are the things that I see, especially now with those who started business with me. What I see now, they're stagnant, right? And it's not that they're bad business owners or what they have to offer. It's just that I tell people all the time, your audience grows. Like after you solve their problem, if you don't have that next solution for them, guess what? They're going to find someone else to make that next transition for them. And it's not always a bad thing, because you want them to go on to the next level. But I tell them you have to have a trajectory, and that comes from pivoting and understanding growth in your business. And so I just think a lot of people are when they're successful, they're very resistant to the process of growth.
Yeah. And when they're willing to make that change, they're successful, right? Because you have to look, times change. And you have to roll with it. That's just, the way that it is. And you did. I mean, look at what you did. Holy crap. I mean, you're in the middle of like a kidney transplant, and, you're in there in the hospital with your computer going, okay,
literally,
how am I going to take care of my clients? I mean, that's amazing. Not many people do that. There might have been other people that were in your position that are like, oh my God, I'm getting a kidney transplant. That's all I can think of. And the first thing you thought about was your clients, which I think speaks volumes. So I think that's phenomenal. So one of the things that we've been hitting on a lot. So, we're in these like pods on LinkedIn, and we all kind of do that. And one of the biggest things that we've been talking about has been the Great Resignation and mental health and the DEI initiative. And so May is Mental Health Month, right? And I think that there's a big focus on how toxic work environments do affect the mental health of workers, which is why the Great Resignation started, or part of it. But when you have, and I know, it's like, you may need therapy, not you, but, one of your clients may need therapy because they have to kind of work through some issues, like imposter syndrome is huge, right? But I think we all suffer from that. That's what happens when you do like these live things. But I think that, we've all at one point have been like, shit, do I really know what I'm talking about? I mean, I think I do. And then I see all these other people talking about what I'm talking about, but they're talking about it differently. And I remember me personally, I went through a little bit of a phase where, I put these videos out on LinkedIn, and I need to start doing it again. We were supposed to be keeping ourselves accountable in May.
No, I told you when I was doing it, and you were like, you're not ready. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, we're going to talk about that offline, but then we'll do it in June. But I was posting like between 2 and 3 videos, informational videos a week. I would do like some funny ones, marketing fails, stuff like that. But, I was doing informational ones, like the Google Business Profile one that I did, right?
Yeah.
But I try to explain things in a real simplified way. Because not everybody knows tech talk, and not everybody likes tech talk.
Correct.
And I've had people, hop on there going, thank you for explaining this. Like, and I joke with my clients, but like when they're trying to explain stuff to their clients, I'm like, talk to them like you're talking to your 5-year-old niece, because I guarantee you, your 5-year-old niece probably knows more about tech than they do at this point, right? Because that's how we used to
generation. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're born with like a freaking iPad.
Yeah, my daughter, she can, like, you're calling me, like I called you, I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you because my daughter has my phone.
Yeah.
She's like the new assistant in my company because clearly I can never use my phone to call clients back.
Which is like hilarious. But yeah, but so I think that, and that's the other thing is, so that, with that, and then being authentic, being your authentic self and showing up authentic. I remember when I was going to start this, somebody was like, well, you should wear a little bit of makeup. You should do this. And I'm like, that's not me. This is me, black t-shirt. You are probably 90% of the time going to see me in a black t-shirt, a navy blue t-shirt. If it's really, really hot because I have a window right here, maybe a white t-shirt. But I'm going to be in t-shirts because I'm in my home. I'm not going to be wearing a freaking suit, to do and this isn't that kind of a, right? This isn't that kind of a, to me, that it's not that kind of a podcast. It's more being authentic and something you said earlier was so true. If you're a jerk in real life, you're going to be more of a jerk in business. And I think that what's happening now is people are realizing that work and life aren't, as an entrepreneur, they're not separate.
No,
they're not. If you can't be you, and I don't mean go be a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm telling you not to be a jerk and then do this, but if you can be your authentic self and bring that authenticity to your business, you're going to win. I mean, because you're being authentic and your brand is authentic. And when people, it's like I had somebody say, well, here's my logo and this has been my brand for 20 years. And I went, that's not your brand. Yeah. I said, that's your logo.
Yeah.
Your brand is two things. It's how does somebody feel when they see that logo? Mm-hmm. And what are they talking about when you're not in the room?
Right.
Right. Absolutely. So when people see this flame, I want them to feel good. I want them to feel that they're getting, value and, all of the good things. Mm-hmm. And that they're going to feel good when they see it, not see it and be like, oh shit, we don't want to look at that flame, right?
Right.
So for me, it's like, that's why I incorporated my logo into the cookbook because that is my brand. Mm-hmm. But like you, I'm my brand. Like people work with us because of me, because they see me out there, and I only want to be as authentic as I can. So, my profile says what you see is what you get. And that long enough that I don't pull any punches. And so I think that's, people should understand that your logo is not your brand. At the end of the day, you are your brand, and the way that somebody feels when they look at that logo is.
And I would say this, like, I want to go back to that question when you were asking advice for new entrepreneurs. I think I want to say this. When I first got started, I didn't have a logo. I didn't even have an LLC. I didn't have any of that because I think the thing now is that, and I tell people all the time, pretty brands, nobody cares if your brand is pretty. They want to know, can you get results? And I think sometimes when we're first starting out, to make us feel good, we get these logos, we get the website done, we get the business card. And honestly, those are great things to have because those are collateral assets for your business. But really, that comes later after you hit a success point, right? And I think people go in this backwards way of fashion of doing business, and they end up wasting money and time because you have to build the business first. And it's just like when you get clear on who you serve, then you can think about your brand and how you want people to feel when they experience you or when they see your logo, or what does that even look like. And so I think that was one of the mistakes I did, early on, was like, I let people tell me like, oh, you have to have this, this, and this. And it kind of stopped me from doing it, made me question myself on what I was actually doing. Because I initially started off right? Then, you get a coach and like, no, you got to do it this way. You're like, oh, okay. They're in business, so they must know what the heck they're talking about. But really, I think, really building the foundation up before you focus on all the bells and whistles. You don't need all the shiny objects in business, just basics. How you show up, can you get people results? That is really what you should be focusing on, whether you're service-based or product-based. You don't need all these fancy tools, right? Like you said, a product is that lemonade from that little girl, right? She probably
Yes.
didn't have a fancy logo. She just had a sign. Here's the product. Give me my money, right? The solution is going to quench your thirst on this hot day, right? I mean, literally, if we get, I tell people all the time, get back to the basics of business and you will have a successful business. I think we've convoluted because there's so many ways to enhance your business, right? And we make business difficult by trying to implement all these fancy tools. And I could tell you, I wasted thousands of, I don't even want to say how much I've actually spent. I really found out the number last year of how much I spent and wasted money on business building, coaches, courses, memberships. And when I go back to the basics of things, it's like I already knew what I needed to do. Like, I didn't trust myself because it's so much information you can get overwhelmed with. So I tell people, find one or two coaches, because you need coaches for different things, right? A business coach, financial coach, a life coach, and I think, at different stages of your business, you want to focus on certain things. But when you're first starting out, I think having a successful business coach, but also making sure that they have results, and then you get those different things as you grow. I think for me, I didn't ask a lot of questions in the beginning. I just kind of like, oh, they're popular, so they must know what they're talking about. And I had to learn to really siphon through BS and really ask those hard questions, like, okay, well, how can you support me? Or, hey, what results do you have? Okay, can you walk me, like really questioning people and vetting people. And so I think when you're first starting out, just don't accept anything. Don't go with trends. Really do your research on everything, whether it's a tool, a coach, anything. And I think that's where those are some of my biggest mistakes in the beginning. I went with trends. I didn't trust myself. And so now, like, I'm back in this phase of just being back in the basics, like that little girl in the lemonade stand, being fearless and just doing things and just seeing what happens. And I think if we all start out with that excitement about our business and just really keeping it stupid simple, that's what I tell my clients, keep it stupid simple. Yep. And they're like, oh, like you don't have to be on 10 platforms. Be on one platform, have one offer and see what works.
Right. You're 100%.
That's it. That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I remember when we first started Gas Stove, it was like, people, were like, oh, you're doing your own thing. Awesome. And they wanted to work with me. And I'm like, oh shit, we don't have a logo. We don't have business cards. We don't have brochures. We don't have blah, blah, blah. Because people back then wanted leave behinds, right? So it was like, we threw this thing together that was like this, clip art, crappy flame thing. And it was just like, but we threw it together. You know what I'm saying, right? So
yep, I remember.
But if I would have just focused, and you're right, if I would have, just not worried about that and been like, yeah, this is our name. This is the company name. Yeah. Because, Gas Stove Creative was like literally thrown together because, my business partner at the time, we're not partners anymore because that's another story. But, G for Goldfeather, S for his last name, and C for my wife. So it was, Gas Stove Creative. And now people are like, where the hell did that name come from? And it was literally like we had to throw something together in 12 hours. So I thought, really didn't have to do that. Right. But I didn't use a business coach. I literally was just like, holy crap, we have to, do this. So you're 100% right. Focus on the basics and the rest kind of comes. It just, everything works organically, right? It just kind of, and it's not, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, you have to build it and you have to nurture it, and then they will come. So,
right.
Okay. So why should somebody choose you instead of your competitor? Like, what is your differentiator? What makes you, besides how awesome you are, but what makes you so special?
I really just think that my goal has always been driven on results and just really knowing who you are. I think oftentimes people, especially just buying stuff online in general, have been inundated with just feeling like a number. And that's not what we do in my program. Like, I know who you are. All my clients will tell you, like, if they tell me what they're doing and I see that they're not doing it, like, I'm actually like, what is this? Like, this is not what you said you were doing. And, just really bringing them back in. So it's like, you get that accountability, right? You get that coaching to make sure that you are getting results. And here's my thing. I don't know everything, right? Like I'm constantly learning, just like my clients are learning, and I'm very open and vocal about that. I show them my results. I show them my money numbers. I show them, the mess ups and the hiccups and things. So I really show them the transparency aspect of business behind scenes, because that is not really aired, right? No one wants to say like, well, they hired me for them to be successful. But hey, I was once in a place where things weren't successful. And even still, as a business owner, you're always going to encounter challenges. So I walk them through those challenges. Like, for example, we have our workshop today, and I walk them, like I've been walking them through my process for my emails, why, I don't do a lot of funnel sequences. We just do a 2-step funnel and that's it, and so I walk them through that so they can see in real time, like what works and what doesn't work, because I think that's important for them to learn, and how I pivot when I go as planned. And so I think that's one of the differentiating factors, is like, I'm not faking it until I make it. I'm like, hey, this is what we did. This is what we tried. It didn't go as well. Here's how we're going to pivot, and here's why. Like really, truly understanding those key performance indicators in your business, and understanding just because something didn't go as well as you want, it doesn't mean it's a failure. It's just like you have to become a mad scientist of your business. And again, you have to be willing to tweak, adjust, and pivot. It could have been, I didn't market it enough. I didn't build enough relationships. It could have been, I didn't send enough emails. It could have been a multitude of factors. Could have been stuff went to people's spam box. That has no quantification of was it good content or not, right? And I tell people all the time, you have to look at things from an objective standpoint. And so for me, really, the differentiating factor is that I'm really authentic. I really show them the behind the scenes of building a business and what it takes. And then at the same time, I hold them accountable. If you tell me you're going to do this, then I'm going to see if you're doing it, right? You give me permission to come into your life. And not only that, like I had a couple of my members going through health issues right now, and typical, if you're in the membership and you're just a number, then the person that's offering the program, they don't care if you're in the hospital. They're like, okay, I want my payment today, like ASAP. Your payment is due right now. Thank you kindly. It's like we have this empathy factor around, because life does happen in business. We get it, and you can't control you having surgery, and we give people grace. And I think that when you know who you're working with, it's like that family building. And so I think really what we do at memberships that sells, really, you're a family. When we say yes, you can come in, because it doesn't matter. It makes me no difference if you can afford it. If I don't feel like you're a good fit, you're not coming in. I don't care if you have $1 million, you're not coming in. You're not about to give me a headache. You're not a good fit. And so it's really about that family piece. Can I introduce you to my husband? Can I introduce you to my daughter? Can I care about you? You know what I mean? Genuinely care, and not it be this fake force type of thing. And so those are things that makes me and my company really different. And then my assistant, she cares about the people too. So it's just like everybody has this loving, empathetic standpoint. And so, we pride ourselves on, loving on our clients and saying, I love you. And we pride ourselves on serving, really focusing on serving people to drive those results.
Right. That is awesome. And that, I think those are all phenomenal differentiators. I mean, there's like more than one, right? It's not just, here's the one. Mm-hmm. And I think that, again, it's, you being authentic, it's them being able to be authentic, and the empathy factor, which mm-hmm. is huge, because you're right. If it's an automated, membership thing, your credit card is going to get charged, whether, they know it or not. I mean, for me, where, yes, I do charge my clients, if they let me know, hey, I'm having an issue this month,
you can fix it.
I can just either reverse or charge if they were paid already, or, whatever. And I, so I that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And so, folks, if you're looking to, start a business out there, and, well, it's true, right, man? I mean, and you're looking to, start, and you need somebody who's got knowledge and empathy and will hold your ass accountable, that would be Miss ReeJade Richmond. Just knowing you these past, few months, mm-hmm. I've learned so much about you, and we're so real with each other. Mm-hmm. It's like, the other day, and I'll be real about this, we had a hot mic, which is like so funny, because you read about this, right? You read about, Senator blah, blah, blah had a hot mic thing. And so I was having a bad day with my dog, and, I'm a stickler with time. I'm like, mm-hmm. if I say I'm going to be somewhere on time, and I didn't see ReeJade, and I'm saying to Kofi, where the heck is she? And blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even see in the chat. She texted, she's like, I'm here. I hear you talking. And, and so after, we were done, it really bothered me because that's not who I am. And I sent you a voice text, not even like a text, it was like a voice text. So you could hear, my voice saying, I'm just really sorry. And you were like, it wasn't a thing. I would have been like, I would have called you out. And that's 100% true. You totally would have been like, girl, whatever. But that made me it made me feel so good to hear that, because I was like, I was really, I was concerned about it. Okay. So the last question that I always ask, all my guests is, what lights your fire? What's the one thing that truly, just lights you up and, is your passion?
I think those small moments when my clients get results and they're like, you were right. And I'm like, I know I was right. I just needed you to listen to me. But no, I get excited about their wins. Like, I recently found out that one of my clients, she's going to be a coach for Goldman Sachs, right? And that's huge for one of their business initiatives. And she was those ones that was questioning, can she really do this? Because she had coaches before that were telling her she had to do it a certain way. I'm like, no, do it your way. Show up like you. And the thing is, I tell people results matter. That's it. They care about your results. Can you give them a clear path on how you're going to get them to the result? And that's it. And so I get excited when I get those random text messages or like one client, she's been in business for like 8 years. No, I want to say 15 years, so longer than me. It was 15. And she was very resistant to the change process, but she hired me because she was tired of not getting the results she wanted. But she messaged me. It was just like a sweet voice note. Like, I just want to say, I'm so sorry for giving you a hard time, but I finally found it. Everything's clicking. Everything's flowing. I feel so happy. I'm at peace. I'm not depressed. I love my business again. And so just to hear those small wins and just knowing that, because even as coaches as successful as we can get, like me and you were in, a 6-7 figure group now, right? And even as successful and accomplished as we have been in business, there's still those moments when you're like, am I really in the right room? Right? You're just like, holy cow, because, we everybody doesn't have this authentic persona, right? In business, some people are very rigid. And I think when you're very creative and laid back and you don't look like everyone else, or you don't fit this mold, like you don't want to wear makeup and you don't want to wear the blazer and you don't want to be on TEDx, and just all that, you don't want to have a big.
I would totally do TEDx. I'm just going to throw that out there. I would totally do a TED Talk. But
I'm just saying, I don't.
You would be so good, though. I know you're an introvert. You'd be like, gosh, there's all these people out here. But you would be so good at that.
And so I think when it comes to that, I get excited about those wins, those results, those just aha moments, because that's what it's about. It's like, oh crap, I really do know what I'm talking about. Like it's like those moments of reaffirmation for me, right? Like, okay, what I have created is working, and so that really is what gets me excited, is that the results, and then I can literally see the transformation, not only me seeing it, that they can see it. So it's just like, I like to say, I would love to catch people when they're first starting out in business, but that's just never the case. Most of the time it's like I'm in the middle, or they're at the point of they're ready to throw the whole business in the trash. And it's just like helping them recover in those moments and finding something that truly fits their lifestyle. And it feels good, because I think sometimes we can make business feel like we're back at a 9-to-5 and we're very rigid. And it's because we've been taught for it to be rigid. We're taught we can't be ourselves. We have to wear makeup. We have to, for me, I have to have my hair straight. I can't wear big curly hair, or, you know what I mean? Just certain things where I can't wear my Nikes. Like when I go to a corporate meeting, which I do, by the way, I tell my clients all the time, I'm not wearing no heels if I don't want to. I'm going to wear some Nikes and some jeans if I feel like it. Yes, I am. So it's just, that's what I'm going to do. Like, seriously. Right. And I tell people, you can build a business your way. And so just those reaffirming moments that, I do know what I'm talking about. And then I can see the results manifest, because then it's like they're going to take that information and that experience from me on to whatever areas of their lives. Right.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been it's always great talking to you, but I'm just so glad that other people get to hear, the awesomeness that you are. So I don't have to keep that to myself. I can share that with, whoever with the, it's out there in the ether now. But thank you for being on. It's been a lot of fun, and have fun at your workshop today. I want to hear all about that.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun.
I know by the time this thing airs, it'll be like a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
We're canning all
We'll have a replay. So
exactly.
The replay will be up. So you could go watch the replay.
There you go. But for everybody else, I really want to thank you for joining us again and hanging out with us for long. I know, an hour goes by so fast. Some people are like, oh my God, it's an hour. But sometimes it just flies by. But thank you, ReeJade, for joining. And again, thank you guys for listening and hanging out. And this is Iris Goldfeder, and I'm going to sign off. And remember, go find what lights your fire. Have a great day, week, time, everybody. Bye.